Hey, what's going on, guys? This is AndrewChicken, and welcome back to another video. Today, we're going to be checking out the Season 6 update notes, which finally released in their full form, not being incomplete like they have been for basically a week now. So, we're going to be checking out what we kind of missed on the PTS, but what is listed here in the patch notes, because there is actually quite a bit, and there was also an update to the PTS, which included some of the stuff actually on the patch notes that we have yet to discuss on the channel. So, we're going to be taking a look at all of that, and actually there's not really too much different between the update notes and what we've actually discovered on the PTS. But there is still some stuff. Obviously, we can see some of the last splash arts in existence for all these different Nyx skins and for the new skins. This looks wicked, man. And yeah, we also this is the only skin on the entire page that has no splash art. It's just the 3D model with some fancy redness, which honestly, I don't even really like the red background here because it looks really, really contrasty, and like you can't even tell there's a building behind her in this one, but that's besides the point. We've got some frames and other stuff, and we've already seen the entire event pass. We can tell what's going on with the limited time modes, so there's going to be a new mode, basically everyone being Nyx's. They always do this when there's a new champion. And also, the remainder of the LTMs for this patch will be made up of various modes that were popular in previous patches, such as Test Maps, Super Random, Cards to the Max, Division, Knock Knock, Cosmic Death, Hole in One, I love that one, It's Treason, Rampage, and Flora's Lava. So, yeah, those will be the limited time modes that will be, sadly, taking the place of Payload during the weekends. Because, of course, reminder, Payload will be back, but it will only be available during weekdays, so basically from Monday through Thursday. So, no Payload on the weekends, but hey, whenever there's not a regular limited time mode, which is most of the time, you'll be able to play Payload, so that'll be very, very nice. More skins with splash arts. I'm actually kind of surprised they even bothered to make a splash art for these, and what really has me just frustrated is that they're discontinuing splash arts. We've seen that on the PTS. But yet they've made splash arts for Bloody Bakemono Koga, or however you say that, I have no idea, and Retro Vivian. But then they didn't make voice packs, nor custom visual effects, nor custom sound effects for either of these skins, which frustrates me to no end, because this isn't even going to be used, but yet we could definitely use a voice pack or something of that effect. And I know it's probably easier to make a splash art than it is to make a voice pack, because you have to hire the voice actor or voice actress and all that, but still, just kind of frustrating to me. But again, that's all besides the point. Another thing which I'm sure some people will be interested in is Radiant Stars will be getting its own chest for 200 crystals. That's actually quite on the low end, and you will be able to get the Stellar Sentinel skins, which I believe have not been available up to this point, except for, you know, if you were around for that battle pass. And this is very important. It includes the color variations as roles. So I believe instead of there being 4 skins here, there are actually 32. And it's, you know, 1 skin for each recolor. So, yeah, this will be quite a hot chest to pick up for a lot of people, I'm sure. And yeah, I'm very surprised that we'll be getting the color variations as well. And I'm also kind of surprised they never made any more skins that had color variations. That was the only battle pass, and then the rest of them just, nope, no more recolors. You're down to just 1 recolor, like all the skins in the event pass. Yeah, very unfortunate. And of course, just a reminder, the Inventor Pip skin is indeed the ranked match reward, so you win 100 ranked matches across the entirety of Season 6. This is not split one, you have the entire year to do this, and you can get the Inventor Pip skin, but you do have to win those matches, that is the requirement. And yeah, for the split we just get some stuff. Now onto the balance. This is the part that was mostly incomplete on the patch notes, and we get to see everything that is coming in Season 6 in terms of balance. So we already knew that we were getting an air strafing partial revert, technically, to what it used to be many years ago, which is higher. You get to strafe faster in the air, and well, once you try it on the PTS for a few matches, it's very hard to go back to live servers. It's very, very hard. It feels so unbelievably good. Even on characters who it's more subtle on, you know, like maybe Victor or something, or heck, Koga's one who I really noticed, like, just jumping around with him, it feels a lot better. It feels really, really good. This is a great change, and I'm super happy to see this come into the game. Of course, it really does buff a lot of flanks, but everyone does benefit from this at the end of the day, and it just makes the game feel a lot more smooth, slippery, and fast-paced, and I think that's a very good change for Paladins, kind of bringing it back to the way it used to be. Also, mid-air inaccuracy fully removed, we knew that as well. Very big change for a lot of characters. And this is a this is a change that really benefits 7. Like both of these changes, I feel like 7 is the biggest benefactor of, which I mean, I have mixed opinions on that. On the one hand, it's extraordinarily fun to play. I've actually played a lot of 7 on the PTS. But on the other hand, yeah, I mean, 7 is very frustrating to play against sometimes. So who knows if they'll do balance to him in the future to compensate for this after we play with it for a little bit. But regardless, these are good changes for every character across the board, so I'm very, very happy. Now we can move on to items. There are some items which are getting changed that we did not realize were getting changed just by looking at the PTS. Also, I do have to wonder what's up with these arrows. That's strange. Anyways, so we knew Guardian was getting buffed to 30% per tier instead of 24% per tier, and we knew Killed Heal was getting nerfed from 750 down to 600. But what we didn't know is that Master Riding is getting nerfed to compensate for the ability to remount mid-match. And this going down from 45 to 30%, which actually brings it in line with Nimble, which is getting buffed up to 30%. So the first two item changes I have no problem with. This makes sense. Guardian is weakest, it's one of the weakest items in the game, if not the weakest item in the game. And Kill to Heal was really strong, so these two changes, perfectly fine. But these two changes, I have some serious questions. One question is, Thunderbush on Twitter on January 25th, yesterday, said that we will not be shipping remounting in patch 1, which is, of course, this update. Implying, of course, that they're probably going to revisit it in the future, but this here on the patch notes says remounting will only be available in payload. So which is it? Are they not shipping it at all? Or is it only being in payload? Or is it going to be like it is right now on the PTS, where it's in every match? I don't know. And quite frankly, I don't want it to be added at all. If you've seen my short, you know one of my issues with remounting, but also another issue with remounting is honestly, it just screws with the balance of the game so much, and also it's way too buggy. Like, the amount of resources they'd have to invest to make remounting mid-match work without having bugs would be quite immense. And even then, you'd also have to do a lot of rebalancing, like, you know, at the preliminary level, nerfing Master Riding, but also it really, really screws with the balance of using a lot of movement abilities. You have to, you know, rebalance, like, what is the cooldown going to be on Master Riding? Can you use it out of, should you only be able to use it when you're out of combat? Like, what's the deal with that? There's a lot, and I don't think it's really a necessary change for the game. It's not even really necessary for payload. Some people think, like, oh, okay, well, maybe let's only remount in payload, because the maps are long. But with the exception of Outposts, they're not even really that long. Like, I've played a lot of payload on the PTS, as you guys know, and on Frostbite Caverns and Hidden Temple, it feels totally fine. Like, I don't feel like I'm really struggling to get back into the fight that much at all. Obviously, if you're on offense, yeah, the payload is right there, so you don't even have to worry. And if you're on defense, well, I mean, depending on how far they push it, you're actually spending less time getting back into the fight. And then if you're on offense, if you've pushed it like 80% of the way, and then you're trying to get back to the fight, well, chances are you're probably going to want to regroup and just wait a second for your team anyways, so you don't need to quickly get back out there. You certainly don't need it in Onslaught. Team Deathmatch never had horses to begin with, and you don't need it in Siege. The maps aren't that long. This was a feature that was available in really, really old Paladins, like Alpha Paladins, when the maps were gigantic. The maps that we have now, Serpent Beach, Jaguar Falls, Hidden Temple, these were all parts of a bigger map. That's how big we're talking. Then you needed remounting. But you don't need it now. The maps are too small. You don't need that. So I think this is a really bad change, personally. And, you know, Master Riding, I mean, if you want to nerf it, okay, whatever. But the fact that, like, this nerf is happening because of remounting, I don't want remounting to be a thing in the first place. And then if remounting isn't a thing, then why are we nerfing Master Riding? I mean, maybe there's still justification for that, but like I have such issue with that. And then also, why did Nimble ever need a buff? Nimble is good. It's cheap, and it's very effective for how cheap it is. It makes a lot of characters, especially those without mobility, feel really good, and it pairs with a lot of movement cards and abilities very well. Like, if I'm playing Bomb King and I'm going Shock and Awe, Nimble is great. And there are many examples where Nimble is already really good, so why are we buffing this? Especially without changing the price. But then I don't want them to change the price because I'm so tired of items getting more expensive. I have such major issues with these last two items. But anyways, let's move on. And let's talk about quite possibly the biggest balance change of the update. So, healer shifts. We are getting some new passives built into talents. And these are basically all passive that will all do the same thing on a lot of different supports. So, Curative is a keyword, which will mean that you get 20% extra healing on all of your healing abilities. Remedy is a keyword which will give you 10% extra healing on all your abilities and 5% extra damage on all your abilities. And then Surgery is a keyword that will give you 10% extra damage done on all your abilities. So we're basically trying to, I guess, clarify and define more appropriately which talent is the healing talent, the hybrid talent, and the damage talent. And apparently the goal of this was to kind of break apart double support meta or something like that. Which, to my knowledge, double support meta kind of faded a little bit, especially with how strong flanks have been getting recently. So, to me, this feels a little bit late, but also, in my hot personal take opinion thing here, I don't even think it would really hurt double support meta. If anything, it would make it stronger, and you'll see why when we scroll down and actually take a look at some of these talents. In fact, we're going to skip past Androxus and a few of these, and we're just going to look directly at the talents. So, Cherish gained Remedy. This is the reminder. This is the one that increases your healing. Where is it? Or this is the one that increases your healing and damage. So Cherish increases healing and damage. Exterminate gains Surgery. This is the one that increases your damage by 10%. And then Solar Blessing is gaining Curative. This is the one that increases your healing. So you can see the problem, right? Exterminate gains Surgery. Exterminate now does 10% extra damage. But it's not just Exterminate, it's also her primary fire. And when you use her primary fire in conjunction with her ultimate Inflame, she just got stronger. And the same goes for her healing with Solar Blessing. Granted, Solar Blessing is already a really kind of rough talent to use, because, you know, you're forcing your teammates to stand still. There's a plane flying over. I hope that doesn't ruin the audio. Anyways, we're going to keep going. And then Cherish, I mean, yeah, whatever. And then we got nerfs to Pyre Blade, Kindle Soul, Pyre Strike, and Inflame to compensate. That's something else they've done to a lot of these supports who are getting these passives, is they're nerfing their base kit. So, yeah, as far as where we're on the PTS, as far as I've seen on the PTS, her healing is definitely worse. Kindle Soul got a pretty major nerf. And you can't even really get above 1,000 burst heal anymore, even with Cherish. I don't know if the changes were final on the PTS, like that's, you know, all they were planning on doing with Furia, but regardless, these are very questionable changes, and Furia is not the only support affected. In fact, there are many other supports getting affected, and some of these talents feel really, really strong. Like we've already said, Exterminate going to be pretty darn good, especially because, you know, Kindle Soul getting nerfed means she's even less of a healer and honestly becoming more of an off support than anything. Grok is getting the same treatment, so Totemic Ward is gaining Remedy. Bear in mind, that is, again, the hybrid passive where you get extra damage and extra healing. Makes sense, Totemic is clearly his hybrid playstyle. Spirit's Domain gained Curative, extra healing, and then Maelstrom gains Surgery. And it is very strong. We actually tried this on the PTS. And yeah, his damage with Maelstrom, so the staff got its damage moved up to 70 at the start. But then with Surgery, you get an additional 10% on top of that. So his ramp up, like his base number that it ramps up from with his staff, is actually 77 on Maelstrom, which means it ramps up to an extremely high number. It's actually, I think he now does, with Surgery on Maelstrom, more damage than he previously ever did in the past on his primary fire, which is pretty busted. Because I believe the highest it used to be was like 75. So 77, you do the math, is higher than 75. And then also, Surgery, again, applies to all abilities, not just one. So the Shock Pulse with Maelstrom now does more damage. So not only does Maelstrom make your Shock Pulse stronger because you get it more frequently, and it bounces to more people, but now the Shock Pulse also does more damage. He's a damage-dealing machine. And his totems did get nerfed, so you do actually have less self-sustain on Maelstrom again. But of course you can just pop Lightning Rod in, and that card hasn't been nerfed, and the damage more than makes up for it. This is just, it's really throwing off the balance of a lot of supports, I feel. We're going to have to kind of discover what's good again. And also, yeah, I don't know how much this would actually fix the double support meta. If anything, it might make a double support meta stronger. If you find certain good pairings, like, I don't know, let's say Surgery Maelstrom with Cherish Furia, Remedy Cherish Furia, or something. I don't know. It's very, very questionable. We're going to have to do a lot of testing with this. And as the player base, we need to make sure we're giving constructive feedback here, right? We don't want to just look at this and immediately go like, oh, this is awful. No, what are you doing? We got to test it. We got to actually play with it. And then if something feels bad or something feels good or it doesn't make sense, this just isn't working, then, you know, tell them. But yeah, we got to do a lot of testing with this. We haven't really had much of a chance to play with this on the PTS yet. And yeah, of course, PTS numbers are ultimately going to be smaller than when we actually get to bulk testing this in live servers. So there's a lot to test here. But let's keep going. Rover, Rampant Blooming, gained Curative. So this is the healing talent. Wow, no big surprise. Ferocity gained Surgery. So Ferocity, which already does a lot of damage, is going to be doing even more damage. Woohoo! Deep Roots gained Remedy. You're still never going to use Deep Roots. I don't even know how this is a hybrid talent in the first place, to be honest. It's just a weird talent. Sadly, it hasn't been reworked. I wish it would just get reworked again. And then, yeah, apparently he's getting other number adjustments to compensate. I have not seen what number adjustments those are, and to be frankly honest, I'm actually rather disappointed that in the patch notes here, we don't get to see what nerfs they've actually done. It's a mystery. So, very confusing stuff. Kasumi, briefly here, is getting nerfs in the future update. I don't even need to say anything. Y'all are gonna say everything I'm going to say for me in the comments section, okay? Don't even need to say anything. Pip. This is actually the character who we first discovered these these passives on in the PTS. So Mega Potion is getting Remedy, Catalyst is getting Surgery, and Combat Medic is getting Curative. So Combat Medic is going to be doing insane amounts of healing now. Catalyst is going to do more damage now. And Mega Potion is going to do more damage and more healing now. But, bear in mind, they did nerf his base damage to 570. So, yeah, we figured out finally why they nerfed Pip. I was a bit hasty when I was like, oh my gosh, they nerfed Pip for no reason? Whoever did that ought to be fired. I think I remember saying that at some point, whether on a stream or on my video, but that was an incomplete change, and honestly, I probably should have seen that coming. But yeah, this is going to make Pip feel very, very weird. And again, we're going to have to do a lot of testing on Pip, Grover, Grok, Furia here. And yeah, that's all the characters who have these passives. I imagine they're probably doing a trial run on these few supports. And then if these few supports, work well with these passives, then they'll probably give them to the rest of the supports. And also, they're probably going to roll this out in batches, so that way they don't have to balance every single support out in the same patch, because that would be a lot of work. So I imagine we'll probably see more of this in the future, or if it's a flop, they'll probably just revert this. That's my hypothesis. And yeah, again, we got to test, we got to give constructive feedback, all right? Don't lambaste, don't roast the devs, all right? Constructive feedback, that's what we're here for. I'm just bearing the news right now. We also got more news that Ying Illusion Healing is going from 400 to 420. Woo. I'm so... I can already feel in my veins the amount of focusing lens and resonance players who are going to see this buff and then say, oh, hey, Ying's illusion healing got buffed. Guess what? I can solo heal with focusing lens now, AndrewChicken. Your life exchange is a waste of a talent, and I'm gonna do all my damage with focusing lens and carry with the ults. No, you can't. Shut up. This is 20 extra healing. Do you have any idea how small that is? You still cannot solo heal with those talents. Play life exchange. Okay, shut up. Gosh. All right. Back up to the top here. We still have some more changes to check out. And these 3 changes were actually available on the patch notes before, but these were the only balance changes on the patch notes, and we can briefly go over these again real quick. So Androxus is getting Darkstalker back, but it's the wrong Darkstalker. We've already been over this. This is not the Darkstalker people were asking for. Apparently there were multiple versions of this talent. I completely forgot about that, and apparently a lot of people did too. But the devs heard Darkstalker and apparently thought of this version, which is... not the version we wanted. But yeah, this honestly will probably be a little bit worse than Curse Revolver, I have to say. And also, like, the key difference between this and Curse Revolver is that while both make his revolver do extra damage, this does not have the damage over time aspect of it. So you're gonna be taking all the damage up front, which I would say feels pretty nice. And also Androxus will not have a pseudo reveal anymore. No more damage over time on a medium to long range hit scan revolver. Thank goodness. But I still am of the opinion that the rework that he got should just be completely reverted. Let's go back to the old curse revolver and, maybe just balance the numbers out on that instead of completely putting it into base kit. Let's restore the old revolver. Let's revert the absolute gutting that happened to Defiant Fist's cards. That talent is in the grave now, and it's honestly quite sad because it could be a cool playstyle, but it got completely nerfed into the ground for no reason when it was already his worst. Let's just go back to how it used to be. I am of that opinion. That's my super hot take of the day. You can let me know what you think about that one in the comments. Moving on, Azan Tempering has been actually buffed. Although we weren't able to see this on the PTS, at least when I tested it. They might have implemented that since, I don't know. But basically what this means is that Tempering increases the cooldown of his abilities, and to compensate, it makes his abilities a lot stronger. It's still going to increase the cooldown, but instead of increasing it by 50%, it's going to increase it by 25%. So it's going to be, still longer than base, but less long than it is now. It's going to be much shorter, and this will pair a lot better with Chronos as well. So yeah, Tempering should feel a lot better now, and I like to see that because honestly, as much as I enjoy having the the super, super long dashes that just go like across the map in one dash, yeah, I don't like, having whatever the cooldown is on that, like 16 seconds or something ridiculous like that. So this will make the talent feel a lot more playable. And now, this change to Dredge that is making Dredge mains everywhere so happy when combined with the removal of mid-air inaccuracy and the addition of increased air strafing. Expansive Vault now has a kind of a longer base duration on the card. So the card will start at level 1 at 2.5 seconds. So you'll increase your jump height. And yeah, the card will still scale by 1 second. So if you have it at level 2, it'll be 3.5 seconds. But this basically means you can use it as a level 1 filler and have a lot more wiggle room and a lot more room to kind of decide when you want to jump, which is very, very good. And then Crow's Nest will now scale much higher. So it'll still start at 500, but it'll now scale at 150 per tier instead of 100 per tier, meaning you can send yourself farther with Crow's Nest. And yeah, when you combine that with the increased air strafing, oh man, we've seen some wild stuff with Dredge players on the PTS. They are flying now. Dredge actually low-key has some pretty good mobility now. If you run these cards, though, it's not at base, so you gotta make sure you run these. And yeah, nice to see a bit of Dredge love, because when does that ever happen? But that is basically all of the patch notes. We have a few bug fixes here. Apparently, Rejuvenate was only bugged on Azan, according to this. I heard some people say that it was bugged. I couldn't tell, but apparently it was healing for much less on Azan. So that's been adjusted, and now it should be working. Drogo's... oh boy, don't care. Yaggaroth. This has been an issue that you couldn't really properly equip Yaggaroth's golden skin. So that's been fixed. Nice to see that resolved. But that's it. No other bug fixes. Honestly, to be totally honest, like, there aren't really as many bugs I feel as there used to be. At least when it comes to like the gameplay itself. Obviously, it's still not like totally polished. There'll always be some sort of bug. But what I'm really disappointed not to see in here is that there's no bug fixes towards anything in the social tab. Inviting people to the party, or having them like crash or leave the party while we're in a queue, or any multitudes of bugs that you guys have seen on my streams have not been addressed here. There's just nothing. And that is kind of disheartening because as someone who uses the party system all the time in my streams, it's a nightmare sometimes to try and make a party. And I would really like to see some work done towards that. Because yeah, I could go on and on about many different bugs, and some of them are even pretty easily reproducible. So yeah, maybe in a future update, right? Also under investigation, who's Drogos? Drogos. Never heard of that guy, but apparently his ultimate is getting cancelled by the hammer collision on Dawnforge, and sprays are floating. Woohoo. But yeah, that is the balance. Those are the changes that we have found on the patch notes here that we did not know about yet in the PTS, or I haven't covered yet on the channels. So yeah, if you guys have enjoyed this video, you thought it was informative, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, turn on notifications. I, of course, will be uploading much more PTS content, payload content in the future, so you won't want to miss out on that. Also, make sure to check out the Twitch. We stream very often over there. We streamed the PTS a lot recently, and yeah, you just won't want to miss out on that. Also, check out the Discord linked in the description. We have a wonderful active community of a bunch of people, and yeah, you can party up, find people to talk about Paladins with, meet some friends, and yeah, you can do all sorts of stuff there. But with all that being said, thank you guys for watching. I will see you all next time. Peace out.